Hello everybody, I'm Kat, and I'm filming my summer wrap-up in late November. That's the kind of year it's been, you know? 2021 is not the serve that I think we all wanted it to be. It's been a downer. It's been a continuation of 2020. It has not been good. If you hear outside noises, I live in a dorm. The walls are thin. Let's get into my summer wrap-up. So over the summer, I kind of went into it in a massive reading slump. If you watched my spring wrap-up, you would know that at the beginning of spring, I was like killing it with reading. I was ahead of my Goodreads goal. I was on it. And then at the end of spring, something happened where I just read really bad books that made me really not want to read. And so I had that mindset for like the first half of summer, and then towards the last half, I started to pick up reading again. Early in the fall, really truly up until this month, I was killing it with my reading game. We're not going to talk about my fall wrap up because we're saving that for hopefully like December or January if I stay on top of it. So the first book I'm going to talk about is none other than Heartstopper Volume 4 by Alice Oseman. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Content warning for eating disorders and mentions of self-harm. This edition in particular, or this volume in particular, really delves into the mental health journey of one of the characters. There is nothing explicitly shown, but mental health and the different ways you can seek help is really talked about in a very explicit and like deep manner. So just be wary of that if you're someone who kind of wants to avoid books that really explicitly talk about mental health. Maybe don't pick up this volume, but it is shown in a very healthy way. Definitely look up the trigger warnings for this book if you're someone who is like on the fence about reading it, but I give it 5 stars. I love the Heartstopper comics so much. I can't believe that volume 5 is going to be the last one. I'm really sad having to say goodbye to these characters, but you know, all good things must come to an end, right? The next book I read about a month after I read Heartstopper volume 4 was One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. This is about this girl named August. She makes the decision to move from, I believe, Georgia to New York City. She's 23 years old. She's switching between colleges, trying to figure out what she wants to do. She just decides to up and move to New York because she needs that change in her life. While she's on the subway, she meets this very mysterious girl named Jane, who is dressed like she walked straight out of the 70s. Over time, as August gets to know Jane, she realizes that there's something magical going on around her. August has decided to take it upon herself to figure out who exactly Jane is, where she has come from, and why she only seems to be able to see her on the train and nowhere else. So I actually ended up giving this 4 stars, and let the record show that this is the same rating I gave to Red, White, and Royal Blue. So for everyone out there that's like hating on this book, I loved this book as much as I loved Red, White, and Royal Blue. Finishing this book was something I was really proud of at the time because I had fallen into a reading slump. Nothing I was reading was really holding my attention, and this book did. And I was really proud when I finally finished that last chapter and I closed this book. It was a moment for me. I was really proud of myself. I picked it up because nothing was holding my attention, and I thought, hey, a romance should hold my attention. I was right. I was expecting this to be more of a simple palette cleanser in the vein of Red, White, and Royal Blue, but it's really not. Like, this has one of the most interesting plots I've read in a contemporary in a very long time. It was a lot of fun. I loved the cast of characters. It was great. It was so great. The plot was, like I said, far more interesting than Red, White, and Royal Blue's plot. No offense to Red, White, and Royal Blue, but is there really a plot, or are we just watching these two characters as they go about their lives? Just saying. This book actually has a plot. There's a bit of mystery, there's a bit of intrigue involved, and it's great. There's a little bit of magic realism, a little bit of like time travel. It's great. It's great. It's fun. I loved August and Jane's story. I loved the side characters in this book so much. I think I prefer the cast of characters in One Last Stop over the cast of characters in Red, White, and Royal Blue. And I say that with my whole chest, okay? I loved August's roommates so much. They're so great. I loved this cast of characters so much. Casey McQuiston can really write fantastic character dynamics. Red, White, and Royal Blue was good, but I feel like One Last Stop is even better. Like, it took the character dynamics in Red, White, and Royal Blue and just improved. It was so well done. Honestly, it's been 2 for 2 for Casey McQuiston. Red, White, and Royal Blue was good. One Last Stop was good. I will definitely be picking up whatever book they write next. Next, I read Going South by none other than my personal Lord and Savior. It's a really beautiful book. I wish I had the physical copy to show you, but it's a really beautiful book. It has all these images that Lord had taken / a photographer had taken of her as she visited Antarctica. The first portion of the book is this essay that Lord wrote about what it was like traveling to Antarctica, what inspired her to visit, so much about what the scientists are doing down there. And at least for me, I don't ever really think about like what the scientists are doing in Antarctica, but it was really fascinating reading about, especially from Lord's perspective. Her essay was really well written, and I really loved the perspective she gave on this stuff. It was really, really well done. All right. The next book I have here is Dirty Rowdy Thing by Christina Lauren. Yeah, this book took me like almost 2 months to read. I had to skim to finish it. I gave it 2 stars. I was really disappointed in it. This was the first book that I like successfully finished after like a 2-month period where I didn't read anything. Right off the bat, I did not like Harlow and Finn as our central couple. I didn't like them as characters. I just didn't really care for them. I didn't care for anything they did. It wasn't a matter of redeemability. It was just like, I don't care. You know when you just don't care about characters? That's how I felt reading this book. Despite the fact that both of them were dealing with very complex familial situations, both of the characters were very flat. I still don't know how that works. There was something off about the writing in general in this one. I don't really know exactly what it was, but it didn't feel like the other Christina Lauren novels I read. There was something off about it, and I can't really put my finger on it. The mix of unlikable protagonists and uninteresting setting just didn't do it for me, because I just didn't enjoy it. I found myself spending most of the time reading this book wishing I could just reread Sweet Filthy Boy instead, but I knew I had to read this one in order to get to book 3. I ended up forcing myself to finish it. In the long run, I am glad I did because I preferred book 3. This book was just not it for me. Next, we have one of my favorite books of the year. I love this book with my whole heart, and that is Fresh by Margot Wood. Fresh is a queer, loose Emma retelling, Emma by Jane Austen. It follows this girl named Elliot, her freshman year of college, as she kind of deals with the ups and downs of adapting to college, as she kind of embraces and figures out her sexuality, and it's a fun time. I had a blast reading this book. I will say, content warning for sexual assault, underage drinking, and drug use, and slut shaming. But I haven't had this much fun reading a book in such a long time. Literally from page 1 to the end, I was having a blast. Elliot was a surprising, like, underdog of a main character. Nothing about her I found to be relatable, but I still found myself rooting for her. Even as she made mistakes, even as she would make the wrong decisions, I still found myself being like, you go, Elliot. And it was a fun time. Where I really saw myself in this story was her roommate, Lucy. Lucy being a scholarship kid, someone who wants to be the best at what they do, constantly worried about grades. Yeah, I felt that. I'm very much a Lucy in this situation. I also loved Micah. Micah reminded me so much of the friends I made in high school, and it was so funny seeing Elliot and Micah's dynamic because it literally reminded me of me and my friends. The scenes with Elliot and Micah literally had me laughing out loud in my bedroom, which rarely happens with books. I feel like this is the 3rd time it's ever happened to me. The previous 2 times being The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren and the Percy Jackson series. Now, this book is a loose Emma retelling, and at the time of reading this, I had not read Emma by Jane Austen, so my pinpoint of an Emma retelling was none other than the 90s cult classic film Clueless. I wish I was joking. And so it was really fun for me to connect the plot points to Clueless because they have the same plot points because they're both based on Emma. And so it was really fun for me being like, that happened in Clueless. I've connected the dots. It was really fun. At the time I read this, I was about to leave for college. I was like a few weeks away. And so it was like the perfect book to read. Like I just read it at the right time. I literally couldn't put it down. I actually forced myself as I got close to the end. I literally stopped reading it for a week because I didn't want it to end because I loved it so much. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I read Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This book follows Frances Janvier as she enters her senior year of high school. She's always been at the top of her class. She dreams about going to Cambridge. She has big dreams. She knows what she wants to do. She just has to get through this year and get into Cambridge, and that's all she needs. Over the summer, though, the summer before her senior year of high school, she ends up actually getting involved with one of her favorite podcasts called Uni-verse City. She ends up realizing that the creator is one of her own peers, and the two of them form a friendship, and it's great. She gets to work with the creator of her favorite podcast. They become best friends. All is well, except for the fact that Frances has a secret about her past. She's not sure if she should tell Aled, the creator of the podcast, podcast about this secret because it could jeopardize their friendship, and that's the last thing she wants. This book was written for people who relate to This Is Me Trying by Taylor Swift. It deals with topics like gifted kid burnout, using fandom as a coping mechanism when you're anxious about academics. It also deals with questioning whether or not going off to university is right for you, and kind of all this stuff. And I made the brilliant decision to read this literally as I was driving around town buying stuff for my move-in day. I was listening to this audiobook. Brilliant decision making on my part. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Out of the Alice Oseman novels I read, this is my least favorite, but I still gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So I just want to say that. Aled and Francis are people I would be friends with, just in general, because they understand fandom culture. They understand what it's like to constantly put yourself under academic pressure. I will say content warning for anxiety, death of a pet, and abusive parent, so be wary of that. This book was so good, and it was so refreshing seeing how not only is fandom used as a coping mechanism for some people, but how writing and the art we make is a coping mechanism. I really loved how all of that tied together. As someone who literally turned to fandom during my senior year of high school because it was getting super stressful, I could relate to that. And finally, the last book I'm going to talk about, I'm too lazy to grab it because I've put all my books away. I don't really want to grab it, so I'm just going to insert a photo. But I read Jack Edwards' The Uni-verse. I gave it 4 stars. I talked about this in my Books I Brought to College video. This book is essentially an advice book for students that are new to that college life, if you know what I'm saying. I found it to be really helpful. I really liked his writing style. It kind of helped calm me down because his writing style was very sarcastic, and it kind of helped me take a deep breath and realize, yeah, I'm gonna be okay. That is it for my summer wrap up. Hopefully it's not as long as my spring wrap up. I didn't really read as much until it got towards the end of the summer. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books. Let me know what your thoughts on these books are. I would love to know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will see you in the next one. Bye!